Hi, my name is Ben Uncle, and I'm a writer for Scanline Media.
My name is Jonne Niska, and I guess, sort of a YouTuber. We do mostly video content for scoreattack.com.
And I'm Colin Detmar, also of Scanline Media, and this is the Fast and Furicast.
Yay! So I just came home from watching 7 a few hours ago. Both of you have seen 7 recently, I know.
Oh yeah,
I saw it on Monday.
I've seen it twice.
You've seen
in
it
2 weeks.
twice.
Yeah.
Did you think it was worth seeing twice?
Parts of it, yeah. Definitely parts of it were worth seeing twice.
Well, let's go ahead and establish, I find that there are a lot of Fast and Furious fans, and a lot of types of Fast and Furious fans.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say we should rank the films, in order of personal preference, best to worst. My preferences, I would say that 5 is the best, followed by 6, then 7, then 3, then 1, then 4, then 2. Because 2 was a shit show.
For me, it's like 5, 6, 7, 2, 1, 4, 3. 3 is just the worst.
Hold on. Did you just say 2, 1, 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
2's way better than 1 and 4.
2 is the worst movie. It is one of the worst AAA blockbusters I've ever seen. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Johnny needs to do his.
This is gonna be great. 5, 6, 4, 7, 3, and then I don't really remember 1, so I don't know. I cannot with honesty say that I know that 1 is better than 2, but it is likely.
Okay. So we can all agree that 2 is the worst.
No.
Without exception, we can agree that 2 is the worst.
We can at least agree on which the best one is.
Yeah, well, 5 is dragging the vault through Rio de Janeiro, and then the part where they go around the statue, it's so good.
Every part of that movie is so good. Okay,
It was fantastic.
The fist fights aren't good, even in that one. Nobody in Hollywood knows how to direct a fist fight.
It's because of the whole PG-13 thing. They have to constantly cut to make sure no one's seeing any blood or contact.
Well, but I don't even think,
I think it's also, hard to make it look real, I guess, without...
Well, and also, it gets caught up in a lot of wrestling logic, right? Like, if something seems hard to do, it should therefore be really effective, right? Like, oh, you threw that guy through a thin wall, that's really good. It's like, no, actually, if you just hold a person and hit them in the head over and over, that's pretty effective. That is the thing about Hollywood unarmed combat, is that it's spectacle, it's not necessarily based on any kind of logic.
Well, that's not my problem with it, though. My problem with it is that, honestly, I think that Hollywood could take a cue from, anime here, because anime, melee fight scenes, they will tend to zoom out the camera enough that you kind of see what the characters are doing and their positioning. You don't really get that with Hollywood fist fight scenes.
Especially, well, not anymore, especially ever since, the Bourne movies kind of made popular, the close-in, shaky cam that is supposed to convey the chaos of a fist fight. And I guess I appreciate that in, certain contexts.
I appreciate that, when it makes sense, when it's supposed to be especially disoriented and you're trying to communicate that. In practice, when you use it this much, and Fast and the Furious uses it every time there's a fist fight, and lately there's been a lot of them.
Yeah.
It just makes every fist fight look exactly the same.
Yeah, it does detract from it a lot.
But other than that, I think 5 is nearly perfect.
So let's try and convince Ben that 2 is the worst.
2 has Tyrone. 2 has that guy that played Johns in Chronicles of Riddick. It has We Hungry. It has all of that going for it.
I cannot, with honesty, say that I can convince anyone that 2 is the worst, because the first 2 movies were so long ago for me.
2 is the most shallow, hollow, lifeless movie. 2 is what happens when you tell someone make a movie about cars and bikinis, but they don't give a shit. 2 is such a movie that has no soul.
See, that's 3 to me. 3 is just... 3 I actually fell asleep during because the protagonist is just this white bread hick jerk, and he's like 30 years old when everyone else around him is supposed to be like, he's in high school, and...
Yeah, the protagonist... The protagonist is not the character you watch 3 for. Han is great in 3. I think Han is great in 3.
Yeah, and I was really, like... The trailers and stuff they did for 7, I thought that the kid from 3 was going to join the crew.
In fact,
you said
that to me at one point like it was fact.
Oh, he's going to join the crew. He's confirmed for 2 more Fast and Furious movies upcoming.
Oh,
God
fuck.
Damn it. I was so pleased when it was like, oh, okay, he's not actually joining the crew. Good, because I didn't care for that guy at all.
Maybe he's actually become an actor in between those films.
The bit that he was in Furious 7 didn't give me much hope for that.
No.
Not a lot.
And he looks even older now. It's great. They reuse a clip from Tokyo Drift to reintroduce him with Bow Wow, and then they immediately do a camera cut, and suddenly he's like 10 years older.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I mean, I will grant you that Tokyo Drift gets way too much credit, but Tokyo Drift is a really, like, warts and all, it is a movie that has a lot of heart, and I think it was the moment where you're like, oh, they're willing to make a fiction for this universe that is bigger than just Vin Diesel.
But only because of the very last scene. They only approached that with the very, very last scene.
The entire movie is about people other than Vin Diesel.
So is 2.
Not really. I mean, it contained people other than Vin Diesel, but that movie wasn't about fucking anything.
I honestly think you're giving 2 a bit of a hard time.
I don't know if that's possible. 2 is a steaming pile of shit.
I always almost fall asleep during Tokyo Drift. At least 2 keeps me awake.
I don't think I could watch Tokyo Drift again. I'll say that much.
I think I could watch 2 again, and it would be, like, I wouldn't fall asleep. That's true. But it's really hard to fall asleep when you're in physical pain. I can tell you that from experience.
I think... Okay, I'll say this about 2. I think 2 gets the technical stuff right. In a way that Tokyo Drift never does.
Yeah. Well, okay, none of us think that 2 and 3 are the best. So, we're placing them either in the middle or in the bottom.
Sounds good.
So, Furious 7. What did we think?
Well, so I was never really into it for the action scenes. They were really good in 5 and 6, and that helped. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I was into it for the amazing stuff between Vin Diesel and the other guys in that crew, and Dwayne Johnson's character once he shows up, and stuff like that. And
yeah, the characterizations have always been really strong.
There's so much less of that in 7, I feel.
Yeah.
And what's there, some of it is really fucking good. But then half of it kind of feels like they just recycled stuff from 5 and 6.
And I think part of it is because they did kind of recycle things from 5 and 6, because basically, since Paul Walker passed away halfway through the shooting, they had to do all sorts of tricks to basically get him into the rest of the film. And you could just see... They did a really great job of making it look like him, but... there are just little bits where he's talking and it kind of feels a little bit patched together in this awkward way.
Especially, like, okay, the very last sequence, which is really great sequence, but some of the shots of him that they use in that very last sequence when he's driving and it cuts to the side view, and it's like, whoa, that is a CG person. That looks spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few other parts of that where it kind of looks like that. Those films are so filled with CG that it's sometimes hard to tell if it's the person that's CG or if it's just so filled with CG that you can't really make out. But
Well, actually, Furious, like, if you read some of the stuff, Furious 7 is overwhelmingly practical effects.
is it?
Oh yeah, that scene with the bus, that was all practical effects. Like him
That
hanging off the
seems
side of the bus.
dangerous.
Well, I'm sure they took precautions, but yeah, it's really impressive.
And they're talking about, like, yeah, it's kind of hard because, like, when you shove cars out of an airplane, you really only get one chance to make that shot because you can't afford to do that again.
Oh, that scene is so great.
Yeah.
It is a really, yeah, I mean...
That's like... If 7 was more like that, if 7 had more inventive stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then even like that, the following action scene devolves into sort of dumb shit.
I feel like the weakest part of 7 was the part where the climactic battle where that general's flying around with God's Eye and
Yeah,
Jason Statham was somewhere, because it was just, that guy, I didn't care for that guy at all, and all of the God's Eye stuff was just, it was nonsense to me. Like,
Yeah.
It was just a really boring chase because he just kept finding people every single time. There was no suspense, there was no, let's try and outsmart this person. It's just, let's try and hold on for as long as possible, and that only goes so far when there's no intelligent trickery at play.
I agree with that, but I'll also say that I'll extend that in a lesser way, not as harshly, but to most of the action scenes in that movie.
I mean, I felt like there was some really, like...
There are some
Okay, let's talk about
Go on.
some of the things, the action stuff that I think worked really well. I think, obviously, the parachuting with the cars was great. I think the car jumping from building to building was pretty great. Is that it? It might be it. Gosh.
I
There's a lot of action in that movie, and a lot of it.
I think the first scenes with Jason Statham in them were really great. Like all the action stuff he does early in the movie, like in the first quarter of the movie, everything he does aside from his punch fight with The Rock.
Yeah, that's like that. I don't have a problem with him taking on The Rock, but the idea of Jason Statham beating The Rock in a fist fight is just fucking absurd.
Yeah, and it's like they did not demonstrate him outsmarting The Rock in a fist fight.
Well, I mean, he threw a grenade.
Well, eventually, but he was kicking The Rock's ass before then.
No, it seemed like he was... I mean, like, it sort of went back and forth, but, like, as you'll remember, like, it sort of ended. They did a fake ending, but it fake ended with The Rock just slamming him through a coffee table. And then Jason Statham scrambles away and throws a grenade. It's like... I felt like that part, like, they fake some stuff to make Jason Statham seem like a more formidable opponent and hand-to-hand in a way that I didn't exactly care for. But they did basically do it so that he lost the fight. And he's just like, well, fuck it, I don't actually care. Which is that character, so that's fair.
Yeah, they've had that kind of problem with the whole strength difference ever since 5, actually, because they'll basically make The Rock and Vin Diesel either stronger or weaker or on the same level, depending on what they need. And it's always obvious when they've been nerfed or when they've been given a boost or whatever.
Well, and also, I mean, just like, maybe this is because I know wrestling a little bit, but like, I mean, I feel like you don't even need to know that. You just need to see The Rock standing next to anyone in that movie, and you know, like, realistically, he is going to win any fist fight with any one person.
Except maybe
That's
Ronda
just how
Rousey.
it's going to go.
Rousey might do something. Ronda Rousey's vicious.
He needed to be, like, The Rock needed to be in 7 more than he was.
Yes.
But that part where he takes an ambulance and crashes it into a
Yes!
Predator drone, and then
That was
takes
very
the
good.
Predator drone turret and shoots it. That is pretty great.
That is fantastic. But even then, like, the stuff they do with cars outside of the parachute sequence just feels like regular fucking action movie stuff. Even him driving that ambulance onto the drone, that's cool as shit, but that could have been in Die Hard 4.
Sure. But, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. It's just the parts where, I mean, like, just because it could have been in Die Hard 4 doesn't mean it wouldn't have been cool as shit in Die Hard 4.
No, but
the problems are things like when Vin Diesel gets Ramsey and they're backed into a corner, and so he drives down a mountain. And what I figured he was going to do is just, like, accelerate to the point that he got a good jump and then pop the parachute again or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I'm just going to crash. It's like, really? Okay.
That's just straight up. That sequence was also in my head, like, as one of those. That's like, that's just any action film could do that. Mad Max could do that.
And in any action film, it would feel lame. Because it's like, no, you just fell down a mountain. You're dead.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
And it's cool that they are more super... Like, it is cool that they are willing to stretch it and give them superpowers when they do something cool enough to deserve it. That wasn't cool enough to deserve it.
Right.
Vin Diesel fucking crashing his car so he could... in order to give him a boost so he can jump in the air and catch his girlfriend as she's flying towards him and then land on another car.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That earns it. This doesn't earn it.
Man, Fast 6 was pretty fucking good.
Fast 6
So good.
Fast 6 was less consistent than 5, but its best moments were really fucking good.
Yeah, I feel like in most movies, whenever a tank gets busted out, you just roll your eyes and you're like, okay, this is gonna get real dumb. And that wasn't untrue in Fast 6, but it was the good kind of dumb.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And when Fast and like to me, Fast and the Furious' identity at this point is like creatively dumb. And when it gets uncreatively dumb, when Vin Diesel and Jason Statham is on the top of a roof and Vin Diesel has the drop on him and he's like, no, I'm just going to fist fight you, which I've lost like a straight fight against you so many times already, but this time it's going to win because it's the end of the movie.
Well, I mean,
I imagine you guys might disagree with me here, but that was actually, to me, the single most disappointing moment in the movie was when Vin Diesel holds a shotgun to Jason Statham's head and just goes, nah, I'm just going to fight you a bit. In the least bloody way possible.
But guns were never Dominic's. He's never used them very much, and it didn't really seem in character for him to actually shoot someone, which sounds kind of ridiculous to say, but he's always been the strong arm, lived to beat this person to a pulp and then not take their life away because we're not cruel sort of thing.
I agree in general, but especially in 6 and 7, like the level of rage and willingness to go to any length he's shown like in the non-fight scenes, just talking about what he's going to do and how willing he is to do whatever it takes to win against these bastards. And in 6 he never really, like he's never really faced with it, so it's okay that he never has to go through with it. But in 7, he is faced with it, and reasonably, he should have had to gone through with it because he's lost the straight fight against Jason Statham the entire movie.
Well, okay, I'll say a couple of things. One, Jason Statham always cheats, and
Yes.
he had him in one position where he couldn't. Two, I personally think, like, it didn't totally go this way, but on an intellectual level, if you're trying to get revenge on someone, shooting them with a shotgun is pretty quick. Beating them with pipes for a while is probably a little more visceral as far as revenge goes.
The thing I was envisioning when I saw him level that shotgun on him was just shooting him in the leg with it.
I mean, obviously that's not going to happen in a Fast movie. It's just not.
It's just not, but I would have wanted it to happen anyway. Like, of course they shied away from it, but I'm still disappointed.
Yeah. And also Stomach's way better for that. Just, if you end up in that situation.
If I were to end up in that situation, I would probably go for ending it and not taking any fucking chances.
If you shoot someone in the stomach with a shotgun from like 3 feet away, it's pretty over. It just takes a while.
Yeah, but what if they 2 seconds later pull out a hidden handgun and shoot me instead?
I mean, what are the odds that it's going to be actually Jason Statham, Johnny? The only man alive who could possibly do that.
One thing they could have done that would have made the whole Deckard Shaw thing a little bit less ridiculous is not having him show up every single place they went. Like, they're going on this quest to get this item to find him, but that turns out to not be of any use because he just keeps finding them anyway.
You know what would have been actually made that work? If he had that fucking device.
Oh yeah, and they had to take it back from him or something?
Yeah, to stop him from following them everywhere. And yeah, it's like the entire plot of that movie doesn't work at all.
Yeah, I mean, or the other thing you could do is when they get the God's Eye, if they turn it on and it's like, oh, he's on top of this building right now watching us because, of course, he's been fucking following us. Why would he suddenly stop?
Okay, to change the subject a bit, like, do you guys think Letty works in 7? Like, her...
I think she kind of works, but at the same time, the way that they did the whole we got married and that whole sequence seemed really out of place to me in a way. I don't know why.
I feel like she doesn't currently, as that crew is constructed, she doesn't have much of a place when she doesn't have a big internal struggle going on.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, the big story of 7 to me, as a person who has enjoyed the previous films, is where did all the good female characters go? I know they never had a ton, but they're just whittling them away. Like, 6 actually had a pretty decent female cast.
Oh yeah, they killed up. They basically got rid of 2 of the cool women at one swipe, basically.
And then they made Letty just kind of weird and awkward.
Yeah,
it's just...
and Vin Diesel's sister is just a housewife entirely now. And she wasn't a big central action character before, but she showed up and, like, had things to do.
Yeah, she helped break Dom out of jail in Fast 5.
Yeah, she can hold her own when she needs to, and she's never really does in 7.
And even Ronda Rousey in her little part there as a, like, Dubai security guard, or whatever that city was. I guess I don't actually know.
Yeah.
It was Abu Dhabi.
Okay, yeah, they do tell you. I just, it rolls right off your brain. Like, it may seem like nitpicking, but, like, that they had to do that fight in, like, party dresses is just really shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes the whole thing feel cheap, and, like, I mean, it's like, it feels like barely a step above mud wrestling. It just feels kind of gross to me. It's like, no, like, why would your, like, apparently martial arts only bodyguard be wearing a dress? They just wouldn't do that. She would be in a nice blazer and pants so that she could kick someone.
Presumably it would be because it's a disguise, but considering how much this series likes playing with gadgets on an almost James Bondish level, she should have had a dress that, like, the dress part rips off and is a practical combat suit then.
And she was surrounded by people who were clearly other guards. Like, they were...
that was stupid as well. Yeah, I'll agree.
And the thing is, Mia is going to disappear after 7 too, because the way that they set it up, of course she's not going to come back either, because she's going to be with Brian.
Yeah.
There's no way she's going
really
back.
Need to...
Her entire character in 7 is totally set up to be phased out. And if it was only her, I don't think that would be a problem, But
yeah, they're now out of good female characters. It's possible they could do something with Letty again, but they did not give me hope that they would.
Yeah, and... I would kind of feel fine stepping off the fast train here. Like, I kind of feel like if the series was to end here, I'd be fine with that. But obviously it's not going to.
Yeah.
So maybe I step off, maybe I don't, but...
Hearing that the dude from Free is going to be in the next two would certainly help that.
Yeah. Gosh.
God, I want Han back. Can we do another prequel?
Or just do what they did with Letty and be like, oh no, he was totally alive the whole time. He's fine.
No, that would make 7 worse. I mean,
the thing you do. Wait, I don't remember what happened to Jason Statham. Did he explode?
No, he just got sent to jail.
He's in
That's right.
He's in
that's
a jail with like a 12 feet thick iron wall or something. I think they said titanium even.
And he has 10 shotguns pointed at him.
Yeah, I remember now. What they need to do, like what would actually, like, because I actually liked his character on a basic level. There were parts of the execution that I didn't care for.
They did not develop it nearly enough.
No, but what they need to do is they need to have a thing where it's like, oh shit, we don't have anyone to turn to, we have to let him out, and he has to help us, and then we'll put him back, but, you know, they have to pull a Joker on us, where it's like, no, we need him. That is how you make the next movie, at least, interesting.
Okay, so let me get back to, like, the female characters question regarding to 7. Mm-hmm. Like, or a related question. Is it just me, or did they go way more all out on the quote-unquote eye candy this time around?
I don't know. I feel like every time I'm surprised, I remember like, oh right, I forgot how like gross this all is.
Having seen all 7 movies back to back within a few day period. No, it's not more than it usually is. All of them have that same level.
I feel like 7 was a bit more... I don't know if it was more in quantity, but the way it was directed, I mean... Especially, like, the one race in the desert, I think, where, like, the camera just kept panning underneath the girl for panty shots, and...
I mean, whenever it is, like, out-and-out street racing... It is always just, like, montage shots of bikinis for solid 5 minutes. Like, every movie, every single time.
I don't know. I feel like there's something extra sexual about the way they pointed the cameras. Even, like, down to the color choices. Like, they pan the camera underneath this girl, and the panties she's wearing is, like, of a color just designed to make your eyes go there, and it almost looks more sexual than if she was just naked at that point.
I'll be honest with you, in basically all of these movies, when I hear, like, the basically porno music come on, I start checking Twitter. I just give no shits. I'm just like, just fucking get it over with and get out of my movie.
Like, I don't like it.
I've never played porno music. More like just random popular song from that period. Like,
I suppose that's true. It's just like it is playing over something that is barely better than porn, so it might as well be.
Oh yeah.
As the straight man on this podcast, I feel like the way it was directed in 7 is more sexual than it is in at least like 4 to 6, and that it kind of creeps me out. I don't like it in any of them. Like,
well, they did change directors for this one. Like, it's the first one that, why am I blanking on his name? It's the guy who did the Saw movies, and,
he only directed the first Saw movie.
No, he also directed Saw 3, I think, or at least came back as a producer.
Oh.
But yeah, he also
directed Saw 3. That's right.
Yeah, he also did Insidious and all that stuff, so maybe since he felt like he had to represent what Fast and Furious movies have done before, he was like, okay, we'll just do more of this, and that'll be good.
Like, I've seen a lot of bikini shots before in this series, but I don't think I've seen, like, those clear panty shots before. And that kind of grosses me out a bit.
James Wan, that's the guy's name, James Wan.
Yeah, I'll go this far regarding him. Like, a lot of things about how this is directed feels a bit like he was trying to live up to the name and not really sure how.
Mm.
I mean, I don't really have any respect for his previous work, so learning that he was in charge of directing it actually... I mean, is he going to direct the next couple?
No, he's returning to horror movies. This was just a one-off for him.
Okay.
He's doing the next Saw movie. I'll say this.
Well, that's really reassuring.
I have respect for the first Saw movie. I don't have respect for anything else in his work.
I don't have any respect for the first Saw movie.
I mean, I don't like it, but I've seen parts of it, and it's like it's directed in a way that's very efficient with what he has to work with.
I own the first 5 Saw movies, so let's not get into this right now, but I'll just say you are both right and you are both wrong, in a way.
Okay.
I regret owning everything past 3, for the most part.
The only Saw movie I've seen entirely is 4, and that's the last thing we'll say on this topic.
Okay.
Like, so... go on.
I was just gonna say, like... I really felt like the way they wrote Paul Walker out was really good.
Yeah, it was so good. That whole last scene was just perfect.
Actually, like, I'm sure they didn't plan for this, considering they obviously couldn't shoot any more scenes with him after he died. Mm-hmm. But he has so many scenes in that movie that are such near misses that I was constantly fucking afraid that they would just kill him off in universe.
No, totally. And I think that was part, like, I can only assume that they did that on purpose, because I did the exact same thing, where I was just like, oh god, is this where he dies? And I did that numerous times, and I was like, don't kill him here. That's a scrubby way for him to die. He can do better. And then I was really pleased with how they actually did take care of it.
But do you really think they did that on purpose? Because that just made me not think about, how cool are these things happening in universe, but it made me think about the movie in like a meta way, and took me out of it.
Well, I mean, the end of the literal very end of the movie is white background, black Fast and Furious text for Paul.
Yes.
I mean, I think, and not like, I feel like this movie was about Paul and not about Brian. And I think that's totally intentional, and I think it's the right call.
Sure.
Yeah, but basically during that whole last scene, you can see it in the actor's eyes. It's to that point where it feels like this movie kind of enriches all the other ones, because it kind of cuts through the bullshit interactions they had in some of the previous ones, some of the really old ones, and it makes it feel really real and raw in a way that so many that you would never expect from a series like this.
I think like this series, when it is at its best, is very real and raw. I mean, they are playful about it, but there are so many scenes in, starting with 4, but going into 5 and 6 especially, that just feel like such great character moments, that just feel really real despite the fantastic circumstances they find themselves in.
The thing that the Fast and Furious movies get, that I feel like a lot of AAA blockbuster action movies don't, is this, like, casual playfulness between characters where they just sort of, like, not really, like, not making these amazing one-liners all the time, but they're just sort of constantly, like, doing friendly teasing. That it's just, like, that's what people who like hanging out with each other do.
Yeah, the whole interactions between Pierce and Tej are just perfect every time.
When did Ludacris become a serious actor along the line?
I'm not sure if he still is I'm not sure if he is a serious actor, but he does do a very good job of just talking to people.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
basically the movie's, like, everyone plays straight man at times, but he is very consistently the straight man.
Yeah, but
he's still a great job with it.
He's really convincing at it. It's like, I remember him from like shitty MTV programs where he just acted up and just acted the most fake. And then I see, like, it's watching an entire different person, I had to remind myself that that's ludicrous.
Yeah. You know, he totally does a great job in that. And I feel like, so part of my problem with Fast 2 is that Roman is maybe my least favorite character that has reoccurred in movies.
Oh, really? Yeah, that would make sense then with with you disliking Too Fast, Too Furious. Because that's mostly the Roman Pierce show.
Yeah.
I like what Roman does in the current gang. I don't think I could stand having him on screen more than he is in the current movies.
And I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Like, I can tolerate him. I think he's probably a good thing for the movie. But I often find, like, any shot with him or scene with him that goes with him for too long gets annoying.
Yeah, I'll agree. Because he has, like... He represents the really, like, immature... Just... I want money and women and just brag about it and... Like, that kind of part of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And... I think it works when they sort of make fun of that. I don't think that it works when they give him a stage for too long.
Yes. Like, I liked, like, I thought I was going to like the party scene with him when they sort of set it out like, have Roman be a dumbass as a distraction. I'm like, oh, that's a funny idea. And then they kept cutting to scenes, like, shot, like, you know, not very long, but, you know, like 10 or 15 seconds of Roman just talking to a crowd, and you're just like, just kill me. Just kill me.
That was painful on purpose. But, you know, when they cut back to the guy, to Ludacris sitting in the with the servers and saying, I wish I didn't have to see that. And I was like, I didn't actually have to see that because I covered my face for the entire scene.
And, well, I mean, like, I know it was intentionally but they're sort of like, there are levels of intentionally painful, right? Like, there's the kind of intentionally painful where you're kind of, like, smiling awkwardly and like, oh god. And that can be good. That can be well done. But with that, I was just like, I just wish this wasn't here.
I think it was... if they just had that very first cut of him doing that, and none of the subsequent ones, it would have worked.
Well, some of the subsequent ones even, I think it was the part where he accused a woman of having fake breasts that I was like, okay, yep, done.
I had tuned out by that point. I literally do not remember that happening.
Oh, yeah. No, that's, you know, holding a mic in front. And it's just like, I don't even feel like that's believable for his character. Like, he's a dumbass. He's not that stupid.
Yeah.
He's not that malicious, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, he's a pretty happy guy. He complains a lot, but he doesn't tend to really, like, have it out for people.
I liked his bit where... I like his bit in every movie where he complains about the plan.
I like that, too. That's
a good reoccurring bit.
And see, the thing I really like about him in Too Fast, Too Furious is that he keeps almost completely fucking up the plan for Brian, because basically he's like, don't talk at all when we're meeting with this guy, and then he starts being like, hey, you got any food to eat here? We hungry. And how about you pay us twice? We hungry. And
oh god, now I remember that scene.
Yeah.
It didn't click the first time you referenced it. Oh god.
And Brian is just giving him this death stare the entire time. Like, when we get to someplace private, I'm going to kill you, and it is so great.
I am going to rewatch the first two at some point.
I just feel like that's not a believable level of, like, there are... Okay, so there's an archetype of character who is told, like, okay, just play along, and then they kind of push, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is an archetype of character that exists. But, like, pushing for a free meal when you're dealing with drug-dealing terrorists, that's just fucking moronic. That's not even interesting. That's just like, what? Please shoot him. It would help us all out.
But
Please
that's totally the tone of 2, though.
Well, that's what's wrong with 2. That's what's wrong with 2, is that the tone of 2 is, what if none of this made any sense and we just did dumb shit for its own sake of being stupid? hate 2.
I need to rewatch it to decide. I don't think I like 2. I don't think I hate it as much as you do. We will see.
I hate it so much. Like, if they came out with another movie that was 2 hours of just, like, Ludacris staring at the camera without saying anything, it would be better than 2.
I could watch quite a lot of Ludacris staring at the camera. Oh my god, I like Ludacris now. What the fuck has happened?
Right?
You also like The Rock now. Before you kept going on to me about how The Rock is such a terrible actor and I think he's a terrible person. He shouldn't be in stuff. And
I
then
never
after Fast
said he
5
was a terrible person, but yes, I did think
Look,
he was a terrible actor.
You said you had no respect for him as an actor or just had respect for him in period.
I didn't have any respect for him as an actor, and I didn't know of him in any other circumstance. Those things are true. I totally have respect for him as an actor now, and some of the things you linked me actually on the internet made me gain some respect for him as a person outside of that as well. I think he's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't use him very well in this one, but he's consistently a high point.
His character, both in 5 and 6, especially in 5.
In 5, like, it's after 5, obviously he had to become an ally, but it was really great when he was just like an honorable opponent, and they need more. Like, that is, I feel like part of what makes 5 so great is that you find the opposition sympathetic and enjoyable, and that's just not the case in like Fast 6 or Fast 7.
Only one part of the opposition, though. The drug dealer guy isn't really.
Sure. I mean, you need someone who you can do whose stuff you can blow up, and that's okay.
I think
right?
I like it when they fight like the establishment, like they did in 5. I think that's cool.
I think that's cool, but I also think it's just cool when they fight someone who is cool.
Yeah, that too.
They do not.
And 5 had them doing both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 also had that on some level, because 6 had that whole, we're fighting our doppelgangers, basically. And
6 was cool because of that stuff. I thought 6 is the one where... So I don't remember 1. So I don't remember if... I don't remember 1 in any great detail. So I don't remember how Letty was in that one. But of the ones I remember well where she is in, I think 6 is the one where she really works.
Letty in 1 works well for what she is, which is a skilled racer who is generally antagonistic. Like, she doesn't tend to take... Like, she doesn't take specific action against, like, Brian, who is ostensibly our protagonist in that one. But she certainly finds him fucking annoying and doesn't care that he's around. She just cares about Dom.
Yeah.
I think I like her more when she's antagonistic on the whole, so...
Yeah.
You'd like her in 1, then? 1 is the weirdest one, though, because it's very... It's the one that has sort of aged so poorly, it's like a period piece now, in the weirdest way. Like a 2000s period piece, because it'll play keep rolling, and the big crime is stealing DVD players. And there's all these little bits that just make it so dated within this 2000 context.
But it is so unironic, and...
Right, I feel that's what makes it work in retrospect. Like, I liked it at the time because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I like it now because it's like, it's a snapshot of this period in time that was cheesy as fuck.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's...
I really need to see that again.
The way in which it is dated helps it.
Oh man.
Upon repeat viewing.
And the racing scenes, it's not even... For most of it, you can tell they're not even racing. It's like this weird camera effect where they're shaking in between the 2 cars while a backdrop scrolls in the back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm totally serious. Several racing scenes, when they do those shots, are exactly like that.
I really liked it in Fast 7 when Paul Walker was like, we're taking it old school, and he dropped it to like super low rider and went into the semi like they did in 1. That was great.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I realized that was probably a reference to one without remembering it.
Yeah, no, totally. There,
I think
that's how they steal the DVDs. Is they've got these super low riding black cars that can weave in and out underneath the semis.
I think that segment works without the knowledge as well.
Oh, totally.
It's a great segment.
I feel like that's one of the things that the Fast films, like, usually, there are times when they screw this up, but usually when they make references to older films, it is additive, but if you don't know about it, it's fine.
The scenes at the start of 4 where they reintroduced Letty, and I did not remember that character existed, basically. Like, when I saw her, I realized that I had seen her before, but I had no knowledge of what her character was, and they established that in her place in that crew in a very good way with very short time. So that, like, her death makes thematic sense to new viewers.
Yeah.
That was one thing in 7 with Letty that I actually, like, there was one moment with Letty, that entire movie, that I actually thought was compelling, which is the part in front of her grave where she's like, you know, when you have all these expectations of me and how I should be when I don't have those memories, that's actually really shitty for me. It's like, yeah, I feel like games, or not, well, games do, but movies is more what I meant. Like, fiction generally tends to take this attitude towards people who have amnesia, because that's such a common illness in fiction, where it's just like, oh no, it's okay, you'll just remember who you are and I'll treat you like I treated you before. And that's actually really shitty.
Yeah, because they're a new person. And I think that's one of the things that works the least well about 6 as well, because it's like, Dom just acts like he expects her to be the exact same person, and the movie doesn't call that out at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the movie treats that as the entirely right call.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the way that they end up going in 7 is, even though I'm not too sure about whether I like the idea of her and Dom actually being married, it's this thing where he held off and didn't talk to her about that stuff because you can't tell someone that you love them. And I thought that was...
That line.
That was good.
That line. Yeah. That line is great.
It was a very good line. And I feel like it helped a lot of the stuff that they'd done up to that point. It made it, in retrospect, better. But it still doesn't change the fact that Letty's character arc through 6 and 7 is just not very good.
I think it sort of works in 6, with the exception of the way Dom just treats her. Like, he doesn't, like... He presumes, sort of, that she will be the same, and he presumes that she will want to go back to him, and it's like, it's not... It feels kind of disrespectful towards the person she may or may not be now. Like, you don't really know who she is. From her perspective, you're a stranger coming up and, like, just being like, hey, we're family.
Well, and I feel like, I mean, part of the problem with 6, in my mind, with her storyline in 6, is it's like, she's working with Owen Shaw's, you know, crime syndicate, and she's fucking murdering people.
Yeah.
Like, she is a bad person, and then she, you know, she gets, you know, swayed over to Toretto's crew, and suddenly she's, you know, like the rest of them, this PG hero. And it just doesn't, like... That's not how that works.
Yeah, and her turnaround in 6 is pretty convenient, where just after she learns of the existence of Dom and that crew, she turns around and discovers that her leader is a cold-hearted bastard who doesn't care if his own men are killed or not.
Uh-huh.
It's the timing is so fucking convenient, and it's probably
Yeah.
the single weakest detail about 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been talking about Fast and Furious now for about 50 minutes.
That's true. But we haven't talked about 4 at all.
That's something else I wanted to bring up. The reason I have 4 kind of really low ranked on my list is I don't think 4 is, aside from the really weird GPS scenes where somehow they put electronic girls on their GPS. This drug syndicate puts electronic girls on a GPS. And the whole tunnel scene, so much of it was really dark and morose and just being po-faced over all this stuff, and I didn't think it was great.
I'm really a sucker for any time Vin Diesel kicks Paul Walker's ass in a race. As a matter of fact thing. That's just the best.
Oh yeah, that was a fun scene.
I think definitely 4 is too serious.
Yeah.
But I still think the interplay between Vin Diesel's characters and Paul Walker's character and all those characters really is good enough to sort of make up for that.
And that's the movie where it feels like it's the strongest. Because I feel like in one is it's all kind of awkward because they're all figuring things out still. But in 4, it's like they're both trying to get a job with this guy, and Paul Walker knows he's doing it for the right reasons, but why is Vin Diesel doing it? And they have history with each other, so they respect each other, but they're not sure about their new motives. And I feel like it really makes their relationship in that movie really good.
I don't know if I would say that it's better than their interplay in 5, but what I will say is that the character development of Paul Walker's character, Brian, is just... That's... I think that's the high point of 4. His character development throughout that film.
And for me, the other part of 4 that kind of drove me a little up the wall is the way that the FBI treats him while they're working with him. Like, they're constantly trying to blow his cover, and they hired him, and they don't... For some reason, they hired someone that they don't even feel like they can trust, and they're constantly undermining him, and then blaming him when their fuck-ups cause the whole plan to go awry.
Totally. The FBI is painted as the biggest idiots in that film.
And I feel okay with that.
I feel mixed about it. There are times when it works, and I think there are times when it doesn't.
I just, like, in the real world, the FBI has done some really shitty stuff and worked against its own interest in many instances, and I feel like exaggerating that a bit to help your main character's story arc is 100% fine with me.
Oh, sure, but there's this moment, like, when he has to stop to load his car into that truck. They're basically like, why is this car stopped? We immediately have to start calling him even though he's undercover. Let's just keep buzzing him in this area and see what happens.
Yeah, that's
I
a
guess
bit
they
dumb.
do exaggerate. They exaggerate to agree. Kind of.
The other time I feel like it doesn't work is when they meet up with the guy who is supposedly the guy they're after, and they the plan is wait for full confirmation. We need to be absolutely sure before we go in, and then they just don't. And I think that just doesn't work. I think that's just too obvious, too stupid.
I guess my memory of 4 is a bit hazy at this point.
But then there's the scene with Brian and Vin Diesel's sister in the cafe. I am sorry, I am so bad with these names.
Mia.
Where she asks him, like, are you sure that you're a good guy pretending to be a bad guy and not a bad guy pretending to be a good guy? And his answer just, every day. And that's such, like, on paper, that's such a, like, cheesy, stupid scene. But they managed to sell that. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of those movies is finding ways to sell absolutely ludicrous lines like, invisible cars, I know just where to get them. And somehow being, okay, I'm okay with them saying this.
That line is good. That line is good. Anyway, I think The thing I want out of these films is mostly those character moments. And when they have action scenes, because of course they need to have action scenes, I need them to be creative. And to me, the identity of the action scenes in Fast and the Furious is just creative ways to use cars to solve really dumb problems. I don't think 7 does that, and I would like that to be the direction they go back to in future films.
I agree mostly. I do think, I think it's important that cars are not the answer to everything anymore. I don't know, on 6, there's that, fight on the cargo plane and stuff. And that stuff was pretty good, and it didn't, I guess there were cars sort of around. But, it's bigger than street racing at this point. And I feel like when you have situations where, okay, in Fast 6, it worked that they were driving cars to try and defeat a tank, because they didn't know they were going to be dealing with a tank, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you're dealing with threats where it doesn't make sense anymore. I enjoyed a lot of Fast 7, but when you're we're going to parachute in and rescue this girl from a terrorist group in South Africa who is stealing it to use, this spy so they can do terrorist attacks on America, but we're not going to bring any weapons? I find that a little baffling.
The part I find baffling is where they only bring one armored truck when they know that they are going up against military equipment.
I was gonna say armored trucks aren't very fast, but actually that did seem pretty fast.
And Vin Diesel's line about that. They put in a line to justify using armored trucks, and then they only use one. His line is it's not just about speed anymore.
Yeah, but they do give him, the cars stand up to some gunfire, but yeah. I don't know, I feel like this is a critical point for the series where the next movie is almost certainly going to be, like this one, very much about, big budget action with sometimes cars not even involved, and they really need to figure out how to preserve the series' identity through that.
I feel like 4 to 7 is sort of an arc, and I feel like that arc is sort of done now. And they need to figure out where to go next and renew it while keeping that soul of it intact, and that's gonna be hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They should really just bring Han back. I don't fucking care. Just do it.
I think
yeah.
I think I heard Justin Lin say that he's pretty much done with the series, so they need to find someone that can capture the same energy he's had for 5 and 6, but not 3. Because
the director, you mean?
Yeah, Justin Lin. He's the guy who directed 3, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Me and Johnny are not going to be the people who know directors.
Ah.
That's just not going to be a thing we do.
Okay.
I mean, in some series, I am. I've watched these so much back to back that I haven't really had time to look at any of the IMDb stuff for these films.
Oh, apparently he did 3, 4, 5, and 6. So he did all of those.
Yeah, he did all the good ones. Ducking for cover. No, I don't think. I think 3 has some pretty good directing stuff. I think the writing and the actors didn't work.
I also...
Question, does Han show up in 1?
No. He doesn't show up until 3. 3 is the only time he shows up. I thought
so, but his first scene in 4 sort of... There are scenes in the rest of the movie that sort of implies that he has history with Vin Diesel's character from before we are shown that.
Yeah, and even before 4 and 5, in 3, Vin Diesel, when he shows up, says Han used to be big into muscle cars when he rolled with me. So there's this implication that they've gone way back for a while.
There is a movie in between Tokyo Drift and Fast 4. It is a short film called Los Bandoleros. It has Vin Diesel, it has Han, it has Letty, and it has a bunch of other characters that never reappear.
What?
I never heard of that.
I recognize that name, but I've never heard any of the details of this before.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. But Yeah, no, there is material in between those films where Han is featured. So, and I haven't seen it myself, but I imagine that is like the way they presented him in 4. They presented it like, hey, stuff has happened in between this and Fast 1 and Fast 2. So of course, you know, these characters have history, but I didn't feel like I had missed anything. But maybe I actually did.
Oh, weird. Vin Diesel directed it.
Huh, I didn't know
We
that.
should all check that out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of my favorite characters in that series are now dead.
Yeah.
One of them is both. Yeah, one of them is the actor is actually dead, and the others are. Many of the others are dead in the universe.
I didn't realize how much I liked Paul Walker until his arc ended there, and I was, you know, and they did that montage looking back, and I was like, he was really good.
He was so good in 4 to 6.
He was really good, and I really, like, I feel like I never was like, oh god damn it, it's Paul Walker again, but I really did take him for granted a lot. And looking back, it's like, man, he really did some incredible work on this series.
He did, and a lot of the time he did it in positions that don't make him look awesome, but make the series at large better.
I mean, that's part of what was so great about him, is that he was, like, he was a character who, I mean, he was cool himself, but he also was just constantly chasing Dom's shadow. And it was such a great, like,
both
he could never catch up with him.
Both as a friend and as an enemy and as a rival. In all those 3 roles, he enhanced Dom's character quite a bit.
Yeah.
And especially 4 and 5 do so much with that. 6 do quite a bit as well. 7 doesn't, and I think maybe it is very unfair to ask them of them, considering he died mid-shooting, so they had limited material to work with there. Mm-hmm. But I still think it's I am not really interested in fair when it comes to criticism of movies and stuff. I am interested in, like, telling the truth as I see it, and I think it's weaker there.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate... I mean, God, it's a goddamn shame.
Yeah.
He seemed like a good guy.
Yeah, totally. And
it's, yeah, obviously that was something they had to work together, like, at making the movie. It made things harder, but I'm sure it also, like, personally put stress on them, because they did actually seem to be, like...
Yeah, I mean...
they're not just friends in the fiction. They seem to actually be friends.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you've caught the Today Show interview that, they did recently with the cast of Furious 7, but there's a part where Ludacris is basically talking about Paul Walker, and you can just see Vin Diesel's face, and his lip is quivering, doing his best to hold it together.
Yeah,
and it's really devastating.
That's been the look of Vin Diesel in pretty much all his public appearances since.
Yeah.
I specifically avoided watching the Today Show interview, considering it would have all the cast, and I wanted to see the movie first. But considering what I've seen, how I've seen him look in the other stuff he's appeared in since Paul Walker's death, it definitely seems to have hit him very hard.
Yeah, and like I have a respect for that and appreciation for that, but at the end of the day, the film is the film, and you have to judge what's there.
You do. I think the context of that is important, but also the honesty of just saying that it does impact it.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I think at this point we're probably gonna call it quits on this. I assume first and only episode of this, but we're not gonna roll out a future, I guess.
We're running on fumes right now.
We'll.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're closing it down.
Yeah.
That was the worst.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Take care.